Alright, should be recording. I see the file and OBS says it's recording. So let's actually see where it puts me, because remember it crashed at the end. There, got any space.
The journey so far. In the Dead Kingdom, a tale of a merchant shrouded in mystery and smoke. A bell rang, a throne roared skyward, but death could not meet its lord.
Okay. I'm just thinking about the news. I only put 2 things in the notes. There has been more news, but a lot of it has been like not that big. So like trying to get a longer news item isn't really working. It's not like it's all from one place, but it's like basically PAX is going on, PAX East. So there've been like a lot of new trailers released. And even then, I don't like writing up things on trailers because like just watch the trailer. But also some part I kind of see. But yeah, the 2 main things that I have that I put in the notes, and one I didn't write up, the other I did. But the one I didn't write up is the Borderlands 3 got a release date for Steam. I actually don't remember what it is, just that it's in March. And I think it might be double digit, but it would be like in the teens. So like Ides of March or newer, I think. Sorry, or sooner, I think it's soon. And also information on its next expansion. I don't know, to be honest, I've been following Borderlands 3 that much anyway. I mean, it's like, I don't have it, so I've not played it, but it's also, I hadn't heard positive enough things about it for me to really be like, ooh, what's up with it? What's going on with it? I mean, not that it's a bad game, just that I feel like a lot of the impression from many people was it's just not that impressive a game. Which, like I said, that's not a bad thing. There are plenty of games that are not necessarily all that impressive. But, yeah. But it's still, you know, quite fun, quite enjoyable. This is a game that I don't think I would describe as all that impressive, but I'm still enjoying it. No, the main news item, main thing I have to talk about is a rumor. Well, there were 2 things in what I wrote up. One was the rumor, and one was the actual information that we can extrapolate from that came from Microsoft. So, Microsoft released... Sorry, I'm just getting something out of my pocket. Microsoft released some information concerning the Xbox Series X, including it explicitly stating that it uses a Zen 2 CPU design. I'm apparently not going the right way. That's why I'm just going to look around a little bit, and then I'm going to head back in. A Zen 2 CPU design, and an RDNA 2 GPU. Now, that is somewhat interesting to me, because as I recall, it, Microsoft kept referring to it as next-gen RDNA. Or next-gen Navi, something like that. It wasn't clear that it was RDNA 2, which meant that since it's already semi-custom, it in theory could be like a half step between 1 and 2. But this stating RDNA 2, no, the things that will be true for it should be true for the discrete GPUs, at least are more likely. And some of the stuff we already knew would be coming, like the ray tracing. We know that's coming. The variable rate shading, we knew would be coming as well. It still is good to see confirmed, though. But it did also say one thing that a lot of people, I think, have been surprised by, and also sadly a lot of people have been not covering it necessarily correctly. It said it's, what, 12.1 teraflops? Is that it? A pretty high number of teraflops for what we are assuming, that it will be an APU design. So it will be a single chip. For and I can't upgrade that anymore, right? Yeah. A single chip design, CPU and GPU. That's what the Xbox One is using. The PlayStation 4 is using. It seems reasonable, but technically we don't know that for sure. But if it is the case, that really is quite impressive performance. But it is worth noting, a teraflop in one place is not the same as teraflop in another. And I think there's, so I shut up.
Behold, a challenger enters the...
I'm gonna die so much here and be very frustrated.
But what does he seek? Absolution from death. No! This one yet to live. Quiet! He would tell us his cause. Speak, challenger.
I'm here to defeat your champion.
And so all challengers both.
You could also just say, I'm here to talk to the Lord of Dead Lord, whatever his name is.
Their souls burn from existence, and our champion all the stronger for it.
Enough! Bring out your champion.
There is power in this one, power enough to do as he claims. But our champion is no cur to be summoned at will. You must draw him forth. This altar holds his power. The souls of all he has slain and consumed. 3 anima stones must be placed therein. And our champion will arise.
Okay, good. I don't have the fight yet. Alright. So, as I was saying, not all teraflops are different depending on what it is you're talking about. So, one good example of that and relevant is a Vega teraflop is different from a Navi teraflop. This is because AMD changed how the compute units, well, compute groups. They changed. The terminology is also a little different now. How those work, where, and also some other things. So it's like you now see 2 compute groups in Navi, which is different from how Vega did. I think they're technically also smaller, but how they group together allows them to still do things like Vega did. I don't remember all of it, but one thing that I do remember is that Vega has a 4-cycle operation kind of thing to it, where it'll like take new instructions after 4 cycles. It or like it collects them together, it does the work, but doesn't necessarily return the results until the 4th cycle is done. It's something weird like that. Navi brought that down to 2. So, and that will help with gaming performance as well, but it is a change to how the compute work is done. How? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember how to get up there. So there's that, but and people did observe this when Navi first came out, when the 5700 XT first came out. Comparing it to Vega, there were situations where it's like, even in compute, Vega would be, has a higher compute score, but Navi was winning. Okay, why are you over there now, Crow? So there's that. It's like you don't really want to compare Vega 64 teraflops to Navi teraflops. That's not strictly appropriate. get... Oh, duh, it's right here. What is up here, Take? Huh, interesting. I honestly don't remember all this. But there's one place that I saw trying to say that, oh, look at how powerful it is, because it beats... You know, that's putting it in line with, like, around where Vega 64 was, something like that. But they were also showing that, like, you know, Vega 64 was shortly behind the GTX 1080 Ti when it comes to compute performance. It's like, yes, Vega is a very good compute architecture. This is true. However, the 2080 Ti and Vega 64 are very different performance levels for gaming, which is what we actually care about in this discussion here. So yeah, it's like you do need to keep that context in mind. That really all you can do is compare it to other Navi GPUs. And even then, because it's RDNA 2, there are differences to it. Different optimizations. In theory, we should be expected to be appreciably more efficient. This is based on a comment, well, both specific statements and then comments made at CES concerning the Ryzen 4000 series AP, that they figured out ways to make them much more efficient, and that it's like that was stated in the actual press event, in the actual presentation. But it was then in a follow-up interview that Lisa Su gave. Actually, she might not have been the one to make the comment, but it was like a shorter Q&A period, question and answer period following that, when it was either her or one of the other AMD people there stated that those improvements can be carried over to other GPU designs. Meaning, yes, you will see these applied to the likes of newer Navi GPUs. So we could see this more powerful and an eventual more powerful RDNA 2 GPU be appreciably more efficient than even the Navi 1 GPUs, which are pretty efficient compared to what compared to Vega. I mean, Vega's not inefficient, but it was definitely pushed harder than maybe it should have been. Like I did that article a while ago looking at the efficiency and, you know, getting that to it was definitely some weird things that happened there, but you know, it was clearly more power efficient than a lot of people wanted to make Vega out to be. Both when undervolting and when you just control its clock speed itself by like limiting frame rate. Which, like right now, the game is only running at 60. If I were on the Vega GPU, like it would. Let me see, this game, based on what I've seen and trying to extrapolate like comparison with Home Core 2, because that's where I saw the GPU go to like 40 watts or something.
I cannot.
Since I got him, might as well top myself off.
Impossible.
But yeah, see how much nicer that is once you have good gear? And unfortunately it is in this game, so like, there's a point where it's just a step function. It's like, oh, suddenly you have good gear and everything becomes more manageable. Anyway, Yeah, this, I could believe that it would be 40, 50 watts. I'm assuming, willing to assume that Killing Floor 2 bit better optimized than this. And part of that would... Actually, they are the same engine. But just how certain things are set up, I would be very willing. Even though this is... Oh, yeah, that's true. This is an older game, so... I don't know. It would probably still be pretty damn light. Can I do that? Alright. Alright, so the Polaris GPU, less powerful. It is doing right now between 70 and 80 watts. That's how much it can pull. Now this is... I do run it with an undervolt. Which... I mean, I personally would recommend you do that with every GPU you can, which I know you can do it with AMD GPUs. It's not that hard. I'm not so sure how you would do it with an NVIDIA GPU. He was jumping back, in case you're wondering, because of the key combination to bring up the overlay to look. Yeah, I could believe that Vega, because it is more, higher performing, would there would be capable of running it at a lower power level. Ooh, a hammer that I'm not going to use. There we go. There. There. That's... It's heavy enough to do that. So yeah, I mean, basically that whole... Wow, I did not need to do that. I should not have done that. Based on my whole point, based on the news with the Xbox Series X, is that, yeah, it looks like RDNA 2 could be appreciably more powerful, but also based on statements that have been made previously, may also be more efficient than current stuff. Than the current Navi GPUs, which are already better for AMD. I think I might actually... Yeah, I do. Okay. Now the other bit of news concerning... Concerning AMD GPUs of late is that there was a supposed leak, and I did put this on the news item, because at the time it hadn't been shown to be false yet. But it was a leak that purported to be an SK Hynix, I think that's how you pronounce it, internal document that suggested that there would be an RX 5950 XT that would basically have as a GPU double the specs of... Now true, it had nothing with clock speeds, but double the specs of the 5700 XT, paired with 24 gig of HBM2E memory, which is a bit insane. That would be quite an expensive GPU, but also quite a powerful. But SK Hynix came out and basically said that, yeah, this isn't an internal document, and also they have things wrong in it. Like, the specs that they are giving for HBM2E are not that. I think these guys might be able to help. Come on, there we go. Alright. Isn't it amazing how annoying these small guys are? And partly it is just because of that one stupid attack. That one. Because it locks you in position for way too long, considering it can happen because you're just trying to dodge while attacking. But yeah, such a AMD GPU would be amazing to see. That specific spec, if it were real and let's say things were adjusted so that it could be that. That would, I could comfortably see that being over $1,000. But realistically, its performance would probably be appropriate for that price, based on current product stack stuff, current pricing stuff. But it is fake. It is not true. And also, there's one other thing besides the specs that, when you think about it, was also an indication. I didn't think of it until after I had put the thing up. But I did identify it was a rumor because you have to remember that all leaks are rumors and therefore may prove false. The naming 5950 XT doesn't make sense. When you think about it, it doesn't, because AMD isn't using a naming structure that necessarily would use the 50, a 50 like that. I mean, true, it is more similar to the era when they did what they're naming system now. Back like the 5770, HD 5770 that I have. That was my first appreciable discrete GPU. I did have back when it was still just ATI, a 9550. I still have that somewhere. Yeah, way back when 128 mega VRAM was a lot. That was in a system that also only had the DDR1 memory. That was my first computer, so fond memories. And I remember one of the things I played and did notice the performance improvement first off of comparing that 9550 to the integrated GPU was Warcraft 3. Somebody had made a go-kart map in it, and I noticed it was much smoother, no longer being integrated for that. That was a fun thing too. But yeah, it's a 5950. It's like 5950 XT. It's like, why wouldn't that just be like the 5900 XT with how things are currently being named, and then there'd be a 5900? It's like it doesn't quite make that much sense, does it? there's also the question of, will AMD stick with the 5000 series for? I think is fair to ask as well. Because if they're going to RDNA 2, would they just then go to the 6000 series? I think that the 700, 600, 500, I think that stuff would probably stay. Like that's the place in product stack information. But I could believe that they would go to, no, it's now 6000 series. It would make some sense. Because in some ways it would be akin to NVIDIA's 16 series and the 20 series. Except there would in fact be a generational difference, and it wouldn't be meant to, in order to confuse people. I have a feeling that a lot of people would, if you ask them it this way, would say, yeah, that's why. It's like, do you think that NVIDIA named it the GTX 16 series so that people think that it's older than the 20 series, less powerful than the 20 series, and therefore they should buy the more expensive 20 series? I think a lot of people would say, yeah, that's probably why. Because it never made sense. Why did you go 16? Where did the 16 come for this?
Impossible.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Now, hopefully, and I was thinking about, is there a way that I could put it in there? Just a brief mention about how, yeah, AMD is having the driver issues currently, that, you know, like black screens and such, issues like that. But it's like, you know, what this piece is, I don't feel it's worth trying to shoehorn in, and also did feel to me like I'd have to shoehorn it in. A mention of that. And it's also one other thing that I mentioned about that to somebody else. Because a lot of people were upset that for a while AMD didn't have the black screen issue, or maybe it was a different, maybe it was the downclocking one, even on the known issues list for their drivers. Well, there is a possible reason for that. Trying to figure out what it is here. Okay, I can grab that, but what would I do? I'm gonna grab it. I need to go downstairs. Oh yeah, it's right here that I need to do. Oh, it is possible that they have a certain standard that needs to be met for known issues. Like, they need enough reports of it, they need to be able to have experienced it internally, things like that. Because it would be completely unreasonable to, I figured I'm not going to come back into this specific area, might as well do that. Shit, did not mean to do that though. I meant to get out. I'm gonna grab it. But yeah, it's possible that it is. No, we need to, like, be certain that this is in fact an issue, not just something random. Because there's plenty of times that it could be exactly that. Where the cause of something is external, like, oh, it was an errant Windows update, so it's not necessarily something we can fix. I'm just trying to think what would be another example, or just we can't confirm, we can't prove that this is real, so we can't count it. It's like, that can happen. Let me see, I don't have the personal experience with the bug for it, but there is one bug I'm aware of, and when I got to ask some questions of one one of the developers for Sins of Solar Empire, one of the things I asked was about the how can I most easily get to that? Probably this one. One of the weirdest bugs you encountered, and he said that there was a time that somebody kept getting crashes in it, and the reason, it turned out when they talked to him and figured out everything, he had written a script that every time a ship was destroyed, I think it was, he had one of those USB missile launcher things that would fire off. That script is what was causing the problem. That's where it was breaking. So it wasn't internal to them, so why would they acknowledge that as a known issue? They fixed it. They did fix it. But if you had, a patch list that included known issues, you wouldn't list that. It would make sense that AMD and NVIDIA and Intel, all of them would have a process of being like, okay, until it reaches this point, we're not counting it because we can't do anything until then. But it is there now, so that is good, because that means that to some degree, that if there is such a standard, that means that it's been met, and meaning that standard probably means then that it's easier for AMD to work on. It's like I also again that there are save issues that's having. Yeah, it's a known issue, but the developers are having a hard time figuring out how to reproduce it. But we know that people are reporting it. That's known. Just that can happen. That Borderlands 2 when that released, that's an example of that. Where now, true, we don't know when they learned about it. East, south. I'm just. What is that switch to? Okay. And my mind, I hate it when my mind just decides, I'm gonna turn off for a little bit. Right there. Awesome. But I don't remember when. Actually, I think for a while they didn't acknowledge it initially. That really annoyed people because it's like, it's happening to us. What's wrong with you? This is such a major problem. It's like, well, there could be other factors involved. We need to figure those out before we can fix anything. I'm just trying to remember, where do I need to take this? I think over that way. So set this down. But yeah, so, and it is also interesting, some of the fixes some people are finding and suggesting for the downclocking and the black screens, suggesting there might be a power management thing, which, okay, for anyone wondering, yes, that is something that could be addressed via drivers and via BIOS updates. It's like, we already know that. Like, remember the whole RX 480, people were saying that, oh no, there's no, well, some people saying, oh no, there's no way to fix this. It's drawing more power from the PCIe slot than it should. Oh no, this is a tragedy, nothing can happen. And then AMD just releases a driver that fixes it. Where it, instead of, so on a GPU you have the capacitors and they're charged, and the energy from that is what is used to actually power the GPU and VRAM and such. And it had been set up where it would pull first, where it would charge up the capacitors that are connected to the PCIe slot's power, and then it would charge up the ones from the PCIe 6-pin connector, and it would just go evenly back and forth between them. Yeah, all AMD did to fix it was, now it's okay, 1 cycle on the slot, 2 cycles on the power cables, and that was it. That was the fix. Everything was fine then. And it's also worth noting, where was I wish I could remember where it was. But somewhere they put together an old AM2 system, because it was the oldest motherboard they had. They put that together and ran an RX 480 on it without that patch for however long, just to prove the point that motherboards are fine. They don't care. Because that spec for 75 watts from the slot is quite old at this point. To the point that, yeah, basically every PCIe slot is going to be designed to be able to handle more than that. It's not an issue. I mean, you don't want to pull a lot of wattage from the slots, but you 75 watts isn't you cross this and you're in dangerous territory. No, it's not like that at all. And also one thing, this is more recent, to power that crazy, but also useful, because he'll do these crazy things. That crazy German, I'm not sure how I confused that in my mind, German overclocker once wired up, cut up the cables and wired it up to power a Radeon 7. So that's the 7nm Vega consuming GPU. Wired that up to run only from PCIe power. And now he did connect its PSU cables, but those cables, because it wouldn't boot without those connected, but those cables will all run into other PCIe slots on the motherboard. No. Okay. I can't even use one. Okay, it's this way. Yeah, and it was fine. It would be pulling more power from those slots than necessarily should be. And also is pulling that power from the 24-pin connector as well. So the general, wow, that they really pulled a lot of health out of me. And it ran fine, and even the cable temperature when he was checking that, everything was fine. As he continued to cut cables, so more and more power was having to be pulled through the slot. Through the other slots. I'm just trying to remember, how exactly did I get to this? Oh, yeah, that people have noticed that, like, disabling certain low power modes will help with black screening and such. And it's also worth noting some of that isn't necessarily, I mean, AMD is going to be the one that everybody demands fixes it, but some of that is stuff that might actually be because of Microsoft. Oh, come on. Fine. Oop, that is actually not what I meant to do. That is... That was useful. Very useful timing. Sorry, I'm just focus on this. How did I do that? That is one of those things that I purchased that I unlocked in the last recording, and I couldn't get to do. Every time I tried to practice doing it, it just wouldn't do it. The heck? Somebody's stuck somewhere. Huh. Okay. But yeah, so if it does end up being that they just need to, like via driver or vBIOS update, so firmware update. Oh no, I probably just need to pull the thing out. Adjust the power to the GPU. It's like that may be what ultimately fixes it, but they need to figure out if that is the case, which may take a while. And but it also might be an interaction with other things, like interaction with stuff in Windows, in which case that could really make it more complicated. But I do not doubt that AMD is hard at work. They have the people there that are hard at work trying to figure it out, but they also will have the people there that are hard at work doing the normal optimization stuff. Like one thing I saw this week, the Division 2's Warlords of DC? I know it's Division 2 Warlords, something. NVIDIA's new drivers have optimizations in place for that. It's like, yeah, AMD's not gonna fail to do those optimizations like that, because it's gonna be plenty. Because there are people that they're not having issues. Yeah, it's also kind of funny. Some people have been talking about how, oh, there's reports that retailers are seeing more and more RMA returns of the AMD GPU. Then you also have the John Petty Research Group. Is that it? Full name of it? So this still that shipments for AMD GPUs increased quite a bit, like quite a good bit. Now, to be clear though, shipments is different from sales, but they are linked. So the shipments would be the like to the stores. So like Amazon gets shipments, but then Amazon makes sales. The heck? How did I pick up? I should not have been able to pick up 3. I should have had like 4. So yes, it is true. Shipments and sales are different things. However, a retailer would not order more shipments if they didn't have the sales to support them. They don't want stock that isn't moving. So you can't just dismiss it like, oh, it's still doing so bad because it, remember, it's only shipments. It's like, no, you need shipments for sales, and you do not request shipments unless you have sales. And it is also, there's still plenty of people where it's like, yeah, we never experienced this, don't know what's causing it. But hopefully, as several people have said, AMD will be able to have this fixed at the time they release the new, more powerful GPUs, or at least, or before then. Most people would probably prefer before then. And in a way it would make sense, because if you get it out there beforehand, then that also gives you time to do testing to make sure, like, well, yes, testing, but also to get community feedback to make sure that it is fixed. But it's not always that easy. Yeah. Trust me, a lot of development stuff is never as easy as think. The only thing I would ever consider truly to be an easy fix for developers, where it's like, okay, why have you not fixed this, would be the simple text stuff. Like, if, let's say, damage were misspelled here, and I have seen this in some games, not that specific thing, but, you know, just a small typo like that. Because this is text, it's probably just reading it out of some text file. To not fix that does annoy me, because it's like, why haven't you fixed it? That's a text file somewhere. Find it and fix it. Oh, yeah. I didn't even realize that. Only the one, but I want to find one there that was more ghoul. Summon more of them. I guess I have to fight him. I was thinking I'll open up the door, and then I'll check how long I've been going. I think I've been going long enough. I had a feeling that there would be another, at least one more of the big guys. Ow! That was another one of those bullshit things. Why do you big guys get to just turn immediately?
I will get done. You did this.
I remembered that they'll be briefly... Oh, shit. Briefly stunned.
You cannot win.
I know I'm not locking on, but that's because the camera sucks when you lock on. Alright. There. Alright, I should be good to enter this one. Alright. It's also weird. It's either going to be after this champion or just prior to this champion that I unlock the ability to summon the doubles. Okay, I'm gonna save. I've been going like 40-50 minutes. Yeah, 48 minutes. But still, I feel a little bit stuck. But you know what I will do? I'll just hit save one more time just to be extra certain. Quit. Yeah. Here's what I'll do. Because I've been leaving emails, press releases that I've gotten, but haven't written anything up on, for one reason or another, unread. So I'll just quickly go through them. Like the one that's actually currently highlighted, and I wouldn't write up because it's a console piece of news. Metro Redux is coming to the Nintendo Switch. Do we have a date? I hadn't previously read the thing through, but Metro Redux would be both Metro 2033 and Last Light with all the DLC. And so, I mean, those are very good games. So having that, I'm glad to see that stuff come more anyway, come to be more places. It says it runs native 720p in handheld mode, 1080p when docked, while maintaining 30 FPS though. So there is that. I'm not immediately quickly read through this. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything for a release date, but it's a trailer was released for. New trailer for Remothered Broken Porcelain. I did write something about that. It sounds like it's kind of an interesting horror game, so I am somewhat interested in that. It's supposed to be a psychological thriller, and it's a sequel. Remothered is another thing. I don't know if I have that, but I'm kind of curious because of my weird the weird things I do with horror games. Yeah, so new trailer for that is out. I don't doubt that a lot of this is just PAX East. So, oh, that reminds me of something else. So many companies that are pulling out of like GDC. Microsoft won't be there. I saw Epic won't be there. Microsoft not being there is kind of big. Epic not being there is also big for different reasons. It's like Microsoft, because Windows is the dominant gaming platform for PC, that's a big deal, them not going. But Epic too, because you think they'd want to be there to push the Epic Game Store some more. Them not being there, it's a big deal. All because of fears of coronavirus, which is also kind of funny because a lot of people pointing out that the flu is worse. The flu has a better track record of killing people than this does. I mean, it's for people who already have health issues, though, and who are older and therefore weaker immune systems, it's a bigger problem. But for like me, I'd probably be fine. Just bed rest kind of thing, probably for me. All right. That I already mentioned Borderlands 3 stuff. Oh yeah, let me check though. What is that? March 13th, and we'll have PC crossplay, which that doesn't surprise me that much. So that would be just you can play. If your friend has an Epic version, you have the Steam version, you should be able to play together. I mean, that's something that Epic has, since the game store launched, I want to say, has been pushing that they do work on doing that, at least with consoles. And makes sense that it would also work with PC. That also reminds me with Satisfactory, because that's coming to Steam. Questions about will you see crossplay there? And if I remember correctly, a correct paraphrasing of the response was along lines of, we know it's wanted, we want to do that, but there is work that needs to be done before we can do that, so we need to work on that, and we cannot give you an ETA. Which is a fair, legitimate response from any developer. We know you want this, we want this too, but to get it there is going to take some work, and because of that we cannot give you an ETA. Almost any developer could give that statement for so many different reasons. Oh yeah, Comanche beta, free multiplayer beta weekend going on. Which I don't know if I would do that because I don't really know the previous games in that series. But I do know some people were annoyed that it's apparently the original Comanche games were single player. So when THQ Nordic announced that they were doing a new Comanche game, a lot of people were upset when they saw that so much of it was multiplayer. So it may be interesting to see how some people respond to that. Lara Croft is coming to Brawlhalla. That's a piece of Ubisoft news. I generally don't cover Brawlhalla, though. Even without the whole trying to get it news items to be so long. Ari and the Secret of Seasons. There's a new trailer for that. Oh, that's coming to PC and all three consoles over the summer. But yeah, that's a piece of PAX East news. Oh yeah, this I remember being mentioned before. Disc Room, a Devolver Digital published title. Looks kind of like a Binding of Isaac, Super Meat Boy kind of thing. Where I don't remember seeing if there were enemies in there, but it's like you're in a room and there's just a whole bunch of saw blades flying around as part of the trailer for that. But it's coming in 2020. Streets of Rage 4's final playable character, Floyd. He's also one of the original characters, it says here. And the game will also have 2-player online play and 4-player offline co-op, all featured in a new trailer. I feel that might also be PAX. Yep. Which will still be going on. That'll be if you're going to PAX East in Boston, booth 28051, where you can go to have a look. Will be playable for fans, so it's not like because sometimes with conference stuff like that, conventions, press can do special reservations. That's not the case with this. And I want to say PAX is actually designed to not do that. It's meant to be a fan event. I'm just another piece that was like I don't think I could write this long enough. The Dungeon of Nalabu? Buke? I'm not sure. The Amulet of Chaos has been announced for PC, with Felicia Day as one of the voiceover artists for it. It's coming to PC this summer. It is a turn-based tactical RPG. It's based on a board game, though. Originally a French parody of a tabletop and role-playing. A French parody of tabletop and role-playing culture, poking fun at heroic fantasy tropes. This is a full video game based on that. That could definitely prove fun. Has potential there. But yeah, so there's a part of me that does think maybe I'll just go do that for these kinds of news items where it's like I don't want to combine like Modus Games, when this was Modus, and Devolver Digital News all into one thing. I maybe could if it's all PAX East, but still I'd like to keep like publisher news to publisher news. Okay, I did that. There was a THQ Nordic thing. That was last week though. It's like that. It was 4 different stories, all concerning THQ Nordic. I'll do that, but multiple separate things. Like I wouldn't want to do a CES kind of thing where it's got AMD, Cooler Master, Corsair, all that in there. It's like that. I don't like that. It feels icky to me for writing news that way. But yeah, like maybe trying to like cover that stuff like I just did in the weekly videos that I do here, but nobody watches these, so I don't feel that would be fair. It's like I'm trying, but literally in a way I know gets no views. That's not fair. That's not fair to do to the people that they want that news out there, and I do want it out there. It's just I haven't yet figured out the way to do that for some of the stuff, and I've also been distracted working on an article that actually this is the Friday I submitted it. It's one of the serious statistics articles, and like I have been, that's up on GitHub. I put all that stuff up on GitHub as well. I think it's kind of interesting. It's also kind of silly to do. That's why I'm calling it the Frustrum Follies, where I messed with aspect ratio to see what would happen. And did get some interesting results. Basically, the summary would be, yes, aspect ratio, the frustrum shape, does impact performance. Other things can hide that impact, and it can be weird. If you look at the Serious Sam data in it, you will understand what I mean by it can be weird. There were times performance improved and you would not think that, and times performance got worse and you would not expect it there either. Very weird. But hey, it is what the data said, and it does mean there's something here. It's just, this is a more complicated situation. That should cover it, and hopefully that'll be out before long. It does need to go through editing though, and it's not a high priority article. It is not. Just understand that. Like that could be a week, because it's like edit that or edit an actual like video card review. The video card review should get the attention. That's what the site is for. Anyway, I am stopping now. I should really just stop. Should see you next week. I'm not aware of anything to keep me from doing that, but things can just come up. Like I didn't even mention last week in the video, I mentioned how, internet connection is down. I'll figure that out. Yeah, it turns out my router died. Fortunately, just plugged the desktop into the cable to it, and I was good. Replaced the router, and then it's like, okay, getting that set up, it's not connected to the internet. Why is it not working? What is wrong with it? We replaced the ends of the cable, of the Ethernet cable running to my room, and that apparently the cable also went bad. But fortunately, it was just the ends, so we didn't need to run any new wire. But yeah, so that could come up and prevent something like that could come up and prevent me. But I have some options. Anyway, I am stopping now. I will see you next.